Okay, welcome to the bonding classification lab. I'm going to go over a couple things, and on this Ed puzzle, you need to answer a few questions just to make sure you know what's going on. This is going to be your intro to the lab. So once you've completed this, I'm trusting that you can do this lab safely. So if you do have questions, ask me before you go into the lab. But everybody's going to get started on this at different times. So this is why we have the Ed puzzle, so you can get some quick tips. First off, let's familiarize ourselves with safety. It's going to be important that we do a couple things. First off, right now, note the important safety features in the room. The gas shutoff valve, the fire extinguisher, the pull the fire alarm, and the safety shower. Familiarize yourself with where those things are. Secondly, if you have a tie or loose hair, we're going to be using Bunsen burners. So be smart. Get those out of the way. Maybe put your hair up. So those are some safety things. Also, we're going to be having fire. We're going to have chemicals. We're going to have people with goggles on. Just be very careful when you're working in the lab. Today, we have 5 unknowns that we're trying to classify. A, B, C, D, and E. At this point, if you're watching the Ed Puzzle video, you've probably completed number 1 already, but you're still going to have to finish number 2, which is this Ed puzzle. You're going to have to do number 3, which is get your data table set up. And then you're going to have to do number 4 before you start, which is goggles. So at this point, I'm going to assume I have done all these other steps. I'm going to get my goggles. Okay, I got my goggles from the cabinet. Now I can begin. The first test that you're going to do today is to place a soft, hard, and brittle. Now, let me say you can do any of these tests in any order. If you have 5 substances and you have 5 tests, how many different total tests are you going to have to do? Keeping that in mind, you are going to need to be efficient, and you're going to need to work together with your partner. You have a lot to test, and you need to not waste time. So this lab is, you need to be efficient. So for this first part, soft, hard, and brittle, these 5 substances, they all have a letter on the bottom. So you can check, this is C, this is A. You're sharing these with the person across from you. So you're just going to need to work with them. For this first test, you need to grab a little bit of paper towel. And then you're going to use your scapula to get some of the substance onto your paper towel. You don't need a lot. And then you are going to take your scapula and you are just going to crush that substance. And you're looking to see if it crushes. It will be evident if it does, that it is brittle and is hard then. And once you have determined whether or not it's brittle, you just gather that up and you're going to throw it in the trash can. So that would be 1, 2, and 3. For the second one, appearance, crystalline luster, this is pretty simple. You and your partners are sharing a watch glass. So all you have to probably do is take your thing, put your watch glass over it, and take a look. Does it appear to be shiny at all? And you're going to record your observations about the color, if it looks like a crystal, or if it's a solid or a liquid. The third test is the high melting point. This one is probably the one we have to be most careful about with safety. Over at the water bath station, there are these metal trays. And you are going to get a metal tray for your substance, and you are going to put a little bit of that substance in your metal tray. You are then going to take your substance over to the hot water bath. And at the hot water bath, this is really warm. As a matter of fact, it's hot enough that it can scald you. So the outside of this is actually going to be warm. You don't want to touch it. And then when you open the lid, the water is near boiling. this water would burn you. Okay, so be careful. We have our 4 steps at your data station. Okay, you're going to grab your metal tray and you're going to put that in the hot water bath. When that's in the hot water bath, it's going to be floating in there, and there's probably going to be room for 3 or 4 groups at a time. There's only going to be, when you do these substances, you're going to be able to tell pretty quick if they melt or not. And if they do melt, that's great. I'll give you a hint, only one of them will melt. If they don't melt, you then have to take the substance out of the hot water bath, and then we are going to move to step 4. You're going to take it back to your lab station. So my substance did not melt. I'm back at my lab station. And now I need to put this in a test tube. So I'm going to take these few particles in a test tube, and it's in the very, very bottom, just a small amount. And now is when we're going to use our Bunsen burner. So here I have my Bunsen burner, and here I have some matches. And in between my 2 lab stations, there is a beaker for spent matches. Okay, so I have my Bunsen burner here. As you can tell, if you haven't started to notice, it's going to be really important you keep track of what you're doing and labeling test tubes and things like that. Remember, when we light Bunsen burners, we strike our match, then we turn on the gas. If it does that, you can twist this piece down here, and that might take care of it. So now I have an open flame, so I need to be very careful. Now, when you put your Bunsen burner in here, you only need to put it in there for 30 seconds to determine if this is going to melt. So I'm holding my Bunsen burner, holding my, you need to be very careful while you're doing this. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. All right, so now this is very hot. So you need to be careful that when you're done with that, you put that away. Now, when you are done with that, turn off your gas. What you might do is get your substances all set up so that you can just test your substances that come out of the hot water bath, so you only have to keep your Bunsen burner on for a few minutes. Do not leave this on your whole lab. That's dangerous because there's going to be people moving about. So get all your substances ready from your water bath and use your Bunsen burner all at once. Okay. If it melts in the hot water bath, or if it melts on the Bunsen burner, we're going to consider that a low melting point, because in 30 seconds, the Bunsen burner doesn't get it so hot. So then you will, if it doesn't melt, you're going to classify it as high melting, and that is the 3rd station. 4th station is conductivity. Does it conduct electricity? So you have these watch glasses here. All right. For conductivity, you also have this meter. You are going to turn it on. And once it's on, there are these 2 prongs that are sticking out, and that's what we're going to measure conductivity with. So you're going to take your substance. If you have the shiny silver substance, you're going to use that same piece for all your tests. And no matter what you have, you're going to put it in the watch glass, and then you are going to take your distilled water, which is over here shared with a jug, and you're going to put that in the watch glass, get it wet, and depending on your substance, it may or may not dissolve. And then you are going to take your conductivity meter and you're going to stick it in the water. And if the light turns red, that means that it's conductive. I don't know if you can see that or not. So this is conducting electricity. So I would write down for that one that it conducted electricity. All right. Then you put the solids in the trash and the solutions down the drain. So if you do have this silvery metal substance, don't throw that away because you need to keep this for your other tests. But any other substances you're not going to reuse because they're all powders and small substances. So you can kind of, none of these substances are toxic. You can dump the metal down the drain with your, maybe holding it, dump the water down the drain with your finger, and then take your substance and throw it in the garbage, unless you have the metal one. Last of all, you're going to rinse and dry that watch glass. So rinse that off in the sink and then dry it off with a paper towel. Last of all, you have dissolve in water. So for this one, you're also going to use your test tubes. You are, ouch, that one's hot. So I need to be careful. You're going to take some of your substance, put it in the test tube. So take some of my substance, I'll add some to the test tube. All right, I'm going to add some dissolved water, 10 milliliters. So I'm going to use my graduated cylinder here. Measure out 10 milliliters. I'm going to look if I can still see the substance in the test tube. If I can't see the substance anymore, then it dissolved in the water. And then, again, solids in the trash, liquids down the drain, rinse out the test tube, put it back in the rack. All right, so you now have all the steps. I demonstrated them for you. Be careful of the hot water bath and the Bunsen burner. Make sure you are cleaning your test tubes in between uses. And last of all, have fun.